We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson, here today with Michael P. Nuss and Trevor Howard. Trevor GPT.
Every time makes me laugh. Not the GPT part, just the Mike part.
Oh, the Mike P. Nuss part, not the Trevor GPT.
Is your middle name? What's your middle name?
It's David.
I thought it started.
Oh, it's Michael D. Nuss? I thought it was Michael P. Nuss.
Well, Coach John, my freshman year of football, wrote P in front of the Nuss on my football helmet. And so it's been
because a D can turn into a P pretty.
It's
just one little line.
He wrote an actual P, but yeah.
Oh, dude, I thought your middle name was like Peter or something.
D is. Yeah.
At least it's not like my uncle who's a Nuss.
All right.
Sorry.
All right.
What a good segue into today's topic.
Wow. So Dane's still missing in action. He's in New Zealand somewhere. So we're going to have an episode about ego. We'll talk about Dane's ego, actually, since he's not here, because he's the only one on Deal Junkies that actually has a big ego. We're all perfect saints with no ego. So of the spiritual principles, as a follow-up, one of the things was, one of our spiritual principles, we wanted to just make a whole episode out of this, is ego is the antithesis of success in real estate. So we're going to talk about ego, and we're going to talk about why it's going to hurt you on your mission to be successful in real estate.
I think it doesn't only hurt you if you have it, it hurts you if you partner with someone with it too.
Oh my.
And that's the
so it's so much easier to see a partner who has ego than your own, though.
Well, we all okay. This is
let's unpack this, Mike.
Are you ready?
Teach us about ego.
Absolutely hate the modern day look at ego. Absolutely hate it.
You hate the modern look at it?
The modern concept of ego is so wrong.
What is it? What's the modern concept?
Like ego death. The concept of ego death, right? Like
kill your ego.
Kill your ego. That is impossible to do. 100% impossible to do. The ego is part of our DNA. It's born out of being fucking cavemen. So our ego does two things to trick us, right? It makes us believe we're stronger than we actually are when we aren't, and it makes us feel weaker than we are when we aren't. What I like about ego and where my mindset changed on it is Sigmund Freud coined the term ego strength back in whenever the dude was alive, hundreds of years ago, right?
It was a while ago. I don't know if it was that long ago.
Yeah, but and it gets into he has essentially three concepts: your identity, your superego, and then the ego strength is how you then converse that. So think of it this way: when you think of a big ego, that is someone that has weak ego strength, right? A big ego shows up because they aren't confident in themselves. So I think of it in reverse, as I think most people do in a modern concept.
I've always felt that ego was created out of fear. So your weak ego is what you're talking about, is when you're, especially, this is something like when somebody's really an asshole or somebody's really a mean person, you can typically sense what you're talking about, the weak ego, and it really comes from a place of fear.
Yep.
They have to act like a bully or act like they're bigger than they are because inside they're not. They're just scared.
It's hiding something.
They're hiding.
Yeah, it's an insecurity.
So why is the ego the antithesis?
Well, you don't have one, Trevor, because you're a robot. Robots don't have egos, so it's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
Ego spikes emotions and removes logic. So like in a decision-making process or a human interaction process, if you're spiking your emotions, you're probably not going to make the best decisions. You're probably not going to communicate in the best way. And so in that aspect, it kind of riles us up and makes us less capable of who we are. Whereas if you have a strong ego and you can recognize, okay, I'm getting emotional, I'm letting the emotions get the best of me, that's not who I am. Let me step back. Let me reframe this. Right now you're taking control and strength. And so then now you get to be logical in the way you communicate. Does that make sense?
So why is it the antithesis?
Well, first off, Sigmund Freud, he lived from 1856 to 1939. So
that was almost couple hundred.
No, 1939 was not that long ago. He died about 100 years ago. Almost.
That was about when you guys were born.
Okay, the definition of ego. Let's just read that. The definition of ego: a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
Sounds like you would want to have that to do a good real estate deal.
Yeah.
Some confidence.
So you want to have a strong ego to have a sense of self-esteem so that you have less sensitivity in this world.
So a strong ego is a good thing. Maybe not a big ego. To your point, the modern sort of vernacular would say that a big ego, like having a big ego, really what you're saying, Freud is saying that was a weak ego.
Yep.
The reason it appears big is because you're weak.
Yeah, and it goes right along with like the alpha male concept, right? Well, the 1980s roid-raged alpha male concept, that is a weak human being that just can't control things and then overcompensates in so many ways, where like my idea of an alpha male is someone who's really calm, someone who's quiet, someone who's really confident, someone who can observe and watch, and then someone who interacts when appropriate, right? They lead by example, not by voice. And I think that's all representative of your self-confidence, which comes down to how well do you control your ego?
Okay, so let's tie this into real estate. Trevor just wants to know about the real estate deals. So Trevor GPT says, why is ego the antithesis of success? So what I learned, and this is, again, all these principles I learned from Paul Curley, is I've talked about this deal. I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast, but I remember the first deal I brokered for Paul. We walked into an apartment complex. Have I talked about it? And the whole, like, that we could see.
Yeah, you got to go listen to all the episodes.
So listen to all these episodes.
It was in.
So Paul taught me, like, you don't buy real estate based on how sexy and cool it is. You know, you don't buy real estate because you want to go drive your friends by it after dinner on Saturday.
Isn't that why I'm buying a tower?
It is ego. Is it an ego play?
No, I love this because the thought process, sure, that's awesome. But
it's cool.
But the way, like, I want to do good for the community. I get a chance to buy something at a basis that lets me give back to the community. And if you think about it, the only reason I have a chance to buy something at the basis that we can buy it at is because the community has struggled. Downtown Portland has just been, So if we can now buy it and then kind of give back to the community, that's why I'm buying it. Sure, there's returns, but I
think legally you have to do it if you're doing a syndication to make returns for your investors. So we'll remove this part. you're
Can I say fuck?
Wait.
My face dropped.
His investors are his community. They're part of his
exactly.
community.
Oh, you're giving back to them in terms of return too. Okay, that makes more sense.
The point being is, like, I've looked at buildings with Paul, and I've sold buildings to Paul where he walks in and he almost throws up, and he can't tell me why he hates the building, but he hates the building when they're not. The nicer they are, the sicker they make him. Like, he does not want to buy something that is sexy and cool. Like, it just doesn't. More recently, he's bought some downtown buildings that are actually pretty sexy and cool. But if you go ask him, like, if he should have, he'd probably tell you no. Like, those are probably not the best purchase.
It's interesting because now we're even getting into like ego and pride, and then like this tiny little distinction there. But to answer your question, the antithesis, how I think of it, and this is what I learned from a real estate appraisal stuff, is this is a very strong lack of ego statement, which is my opinion doesn't matter. I buy so much, like any interaction I'm in, really my opinion doesn't matter. Sure, it's a perspective and I need to kind of communicate what that perspective is. But at the end of the day, why does my opinion matter to a seller who owns a piece of real estate? It doesn't.
It matters to me. I respect your opinion, Mike.
I mean, it's a valuable opinion, but it doesn't mean that it matters more than anyone else's at the table.
Yeah.
So then how do you keep ego out of a deal? Like, what are ways to avoid falling into this trap of doing a deal? I guess to just start from the very beginning, not necessarily talking about deal specific, but just being in real estate in general. It's feed your ego to talk about real estate. I mean, just sitting here talking on this podcast, talking about real estate deals, it sort of like gets us jacked up, and maybe that builds real confidence. Maybe it builds false confidence. I don't know. But like, there are a lot of people out there that just want to talk about doing deals. They don't actually want to do deals.
So I guess with the ego buildup, so you have a perfect example of your flipping story of how ego is the antithesis. We may or may not dive into that high level. You've talked about
Listen to that podcast.
Yeah,
that's all about
that's
ego.
My favorite one. So that's like the perfect example of it. But do you think you don't have because you are like the perfect example. You have all this stuff. You'll spend time talking to anyone. You're generous with your time. You don't have this inflated ego, even though out of all people who may, you would be the one who someone could understand having it. Is that because you went through the downside and it destroyed your ego and you realized, or did you never have it?
Well, I mean, part of this, and I do have an ego, and everybody has an ego, and I try to keep it in check. But we can all, before I got sober, one of the things I'd say is I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. So Mike pointed out in the beginning of this show that like you inflate to where you feel like you have more confidence than you really, then your mouth is writing checks that your ass can't cash, right? Like you are way overconfident. This is what we talk about. You cannot be 100% confident. There has to be a little doubt in there. If you come to me and you go 100%, this is the way you do it, I go, no,
red flag.
I call bullshit. Like there's got to be 1% of doubt that maybe you could be wrong and there could be a better way. The other part of that is the inferiority complex, is feeling like you're less than. So it's either like, I think that I don't know if this is human nature or if this is like addictive personality nature, but you go from the extremes of like, I'm the greatest thing that ever walked the planet Earth to like, I'm the biggest piece of shit that ever walked the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like there is really no in between. And so in Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about being right-sized. They talk about figuring out like what Mike is talking about. Like I have an opinion. It's an important opinion and it's my opinion, but it's not the only opinion. It's not the most important opinion. It's not the least important opinion. It's just my opinion. Right. And so I think that there are a lot of things that happen in my life that, and I think to all of us, to where it could boost your sense of pride in yourself and your confidence and all those things. But I think to Mike's point, the more confident you become, the less your ego you don't really have to put on a show. Like I don't have to go out and try to tell people I'm awesome, but I have too many people coming to me telling me that I'm awesome. And that I think you have to really keep your ego in check. Like even with this podcast, we just started, we haven't really said anything about it, but we have a few hundred people listening, and I get texts and emails and calls from people that go like, oh my gosh, I love your podcast. I love what you guys are doing. We're not doing this podcast, I don't think, to become famous or to build our egos or to be something that we're not. We're just a couple of nerds. We're, 4 guys that like to do real estate deals. And we were doing this anyway, talking about deals. We figured let's do it and record it and let's share it with people so it adds some value to them and they can go do more real estate deals. Like the hope is that, like Mike's talking about, giving the community, you go buy an office tower in downtown Portland, most people would call bullshit. Like you don't really want to get back to the community.
I call bullshit.
You just want to make a bunch of money because you're a greedy bastard. Well, guess what? You can make a bunch of money and make your investors a bunch of money and do something wonderful for the community all at once. It all goes hand in hand. It's a win-win-win solution.
And again, the walk follows the talk, right? So that's part of it. Return for investors. We're walking investors through, and here's the plan. That beautiful coffee space downtown or downstairs that you saw, that made you feel good when you walked inside and no one's sitting there. Guess what? We're going to go to this coffee shop. They're going to be there for free. We're going to allow them to occupy this space for free. And she looks at me and she goes, what? And that huge 2-story atrium style retail space that's 8,000 square feet.
He's giving away anchor space
tenants.
So he can rent out.
That's what you're doing.
That's what we're going to do. And that big, huge retail space, we're going to do 7 pop-up free retail spots. Every week, we're going to have free retailers in here, startups that get to run space for free in downtown.
I like this. We're talking about deals now. Yeah. So tell me why are you doing that? You think it's going to drive occupancy in the rest of your building?
And here again, fucking ego. Do you know where all the property owners and property managers are messing up in downtown Portland right now?
No.
Do you know how many lease space signs are on ground floors?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the dumbest thing ever.
I was seeing that.
Yeah. We have a brand new.
Give it away. Yeah.
Give it away.
Yeah.
You want a for lease sign on your main street that everyone sees, and you have an empty building above it. Give it away. Make people want to be there.
Where'd you learn that idea?
I just fucking came up with it.
See? Okay. I love this. I love it. So that's not an ego play. I mean,
I didn't. Okay. Where did I come up with it? I watched how buildings, we went through a huge construction cycle in Portland. I just watched, what happens? You build space to activate space, right? You build mixed use buildings. Michael Hamilton builds a podium, puts apartments above it. Those apartments feed the businesses. The business make people want to be there. And so you just create this community, right? What's the problem with those blocks in downtown Portland right now? They're clean. You talk to the security guards. This is the cleanest we've seen it in a year. I am not scared for my life anymore. But what's the problem? People aren't down there.
Mm-hmm.
So you give them a reason to be down there.
Reputation still. Yeah.
But the other thing is, well, businesses don't want to move in because it costs money to mobilize. Well, just take that out of the equation.
So when you decided, this has been going on in your brain for a while, that you wanted to buy an office tower, how much of that thought was ego driven and how much was like, just like, I think I can do a better job at this and we can make some money doing it?
What I have realized is the actual true impact that I want to do is a byproduct of me having massive level of success. And so now it's kind of living into that level of my success isn't for me. And so then that makes me really excited about getting a massive level of success I never had. So I'll go back to when I was 21 years old, laid off, and I made the stupid statement of, I love Corbett, the Gorge is amazing, and then downtown Portland. And so the stupid statement was, well, I'm going to have a mansion in the Gorge and a helicopter pad in my building downtown. So that was an ego statement as a 21-year-old. As an evolved 45-year-old, there's a whole completely different purpose to owning this. Now, that doesn't mean I won't build a helicopter pad and have a home in the Gorge and then do that, but that's not the why and the purpose behind it. If that makes sense.
You don't want to hang out in Salem with us and you're going to move away?
No, I'm here for at least 3, probably 5 years at the very minimum.
Oh, cool.
But we're going to have the real estate, social media, podcast studio hubs in that building that you guys are going to have to
You can
visit.
put it in the helicopter so we can make it portable.
We'll put the helicopter pad on the top of the podcast studio.
I mean, we can fly a helicopter. There's a helicopter pad in the Salem
Just
airport.
don't land it while we're recording, Mike. We don't want to have to start over.
Let's do a podcast from the helicopter.
See, this is, I mean, so part of it, here's the slippery slope, is it's like, okay, I want cool shit. I want a helicopter. I want a mansion. I want a jet. I want whatever it is that you want. Like, everybody wants enough money to buy something stupid like that. Now, is it really, what the interesting thing about it is, if that's all you get to and you say, I want to have a jet, guess what's going to happen? You're never going to have a jet.
So, a good purpose. AJ. So, the first time I met AJ, 2019, he just bought his second plane. And when this conference was over, we had an extra day, we had brunch, and then just really got one-on-one to understand it. Well, it's all tax-driven, purpose. So then my opinion of people who have jets, well, they're just really rich people that need write-offs. Until I met another guy who has his own private jet, who's out of California, and he invests up and down the West Coast. And he said, the only reason I have a jet is because I need to be from South SoCal to Roseburg or Bend in 2 hours to go look at a deal. And because I can be there in 2 hours and someone else has to book a commercial flight, I can go get that deal in escrow.
I also call bullshit on that because I buy deals all the time without looking at them. Maybe he's just hung up on the spreadsheets and the inspection reports, though.
He needs to learn about the spirit.
I do like to go look at it.
You just shattered a foundation of my ego.
But I will say I still want a jet.
Yeah.
So,
even though I'm not going to go look at a deal with it.
Ego is the antithesis of success in real estate. Why? Like,
it gets in the way.
I believe it gets in the way of what's really happening. Is ego, to me, in the negative term, which we're talking about. You could break this down, and Freud can say there's good and bad and all the other stuff. But in the negative term of what ego is it's really self. It's self-seeking. It's self-centered. It's selfish pride. It's I want it all for me. It's a win-lose attitude. It's scarcity mindset. It's fear-driven. It's greed-driven. It's all the bad things that we don't want to have. When you break away from ego and you start thinking about what's better for my partners, what's better for my investors, what's better for this building, what's better for my tenants, what's better for this city, what's better for this community, and you start acting on behalf of getting out of yourself, and it's not about you, then you start to make better decisions and you start to think about what's actually going to provide success, not I'm going to take a picture of me flying in my helicopter and stick it on Facebook because that's going to make me feel good about myself. Like, if you need a helicopter to go do more good in the world, then go get a helicopter. Nobody cares. You want to be an asshole and you just think you need a helicopter? Guess what? You're probably not going to get one because you got to go help a lot of people in order to have the kind of money it takes to even put gas in a helicopter.
So ego makes you make selfish decisions, you're saying.
Yeah.
And you're saying success comes from being selfless.
I think in the negative sense, I think ego is selfish. It's greed and it's fear. And I think that when you get out of yourself and you get out of your ego and you start thinking about how you're going to help other people, I think you find more success. I really think that's when Mike talks about becoming successful. I think that's when you say you're evolved, because Mike was a caveman. He evolved, and now he's transitioned and he's buying office towers. But like, when you think about it in those terms of like, sure, I still want to win. I still want to have success. I still want to make money, and I still want to do good things for me and have a fun, exciting life. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also am a win-win guy, and I want everybody to win, and I want everybody to own more buildings, and I want everybody to be rich, and I want everybody to be happy, and I want to provide good space to my tenants, and I want to do good things for the community. Like, there is a way for everybody to get what they want, and I think Napoleon Hill's the one that said that in order to get what you want, you just have to give enough other people what it is you want in order to get what you want, right? And so this all comes down to, by the way, like, sure, when you end up with a plane or you end up with a helicopter, you're probably like, I don't care. Like, by the time you get there, it's not a big deal anymore. It's not like it's a big deal when you can't afford to buy one. Once you have the money to buy one, and that'll be a whole nother episode we do, is talking about how to make your first million and why it doesn't mean anything once you get there. Like, the funny thing is like when you don't have money and you don't have stuff and you don't have the things that you think rich people have, once you get those things, you realize like, it doesn't really matter.
So if go into the future, so if my future self decides that I do want a home in the gorge and a helicopter pad, none of that will matter. It'll be like the little garden on the side, right? Like, it'll be such a different...
You'll look back to the day you filed bankruptcy and say, well, I was happier back then when I didn't have all this crap to worry about. My dad's mentor was a guy who... He was kind of like a mixture of all these things that we talk about, Paul and my dad, and he's a car guy and all this stuff, but he owned a 10,000 acre ranch, and he had a 10,000 square foot mansion on it, or maybe bigger. It's probably bigger. And it had a helicopter pad, and he had a helicopter, and he had planes and all the other stuff. Right. And, it's baller. I mean, it's like something out of a movie. It's like, you just go like, holy crap. Like, you can actually, this is the American dream. Like, you can actually pull that off. Well, in reality, when you hang out with a dude like that, you're like, hey, how's the helicopter? Well, it's in the shop more than I fly it. So like, it's like, okay, so now I have more stuff, and now that stuff has to be taken care of, and now I have maintenance bills, and I got to hire a mechanic, and the freaking helicopter. I mean, then you get then you hear about guys like Kobe Bryant who die in a helicopter. It's like, okay, well, now what? I mean, does Kobe wish he was still alive? I don't know. Like, I mean,
I love how you're getting into the perspective versus perception conversation. And I think a weak ego keeps you in your perception and keeps you from lacking perspective. And a strong ego gets you out of your perception and into understanding a wider perspective. And that's where it is the antithesis of real estate, because you have to get beyond it to understand other perspectives, because your perception is worthless to success in real estate.
And that's why you got to bounce your ideas off of people.
Yeah.
Because you might take your office tower or take any deal to somebody and go like, oh my God. And I think the part that I want to really drive home is that when you're looking at a deal and you're like salivating over that deal because you're just like, oh, I have to own that building. And oh, the dreams of the grandiose thinking of we're going to do this crazy remodel, or we're going to fix it up so nice, or do whatever. A lot of people get into real estate for the HGTV effect of like, we're going to take this piece of crap and make it cool. Like, that is not how you make money in real estate.
No.
That is like, if you're getting into real estate because you're listening to HGTV, I would just like to keep saying this on this podcast, like, shut off your cable bill, save $150 a month, stop watching HGTV, and go out and do deals and find out what it really takes to do a deal, because that is not how you do deals. And that was the mistake that we made when we got into flipping. Is I had a partner. It was all ego. It was, we're going to spend more and more and more and more. And I have this cool idea and that cool idea. Tons of cool ideas. If you have really cool ideas about how to make real estate awesome and how to fix a space up, guess what? Become a decorator. Become an interior designer. You have skill. It is a valuable skill, but it is not a real estate investor's skill.
Speculation.
I'm sorry. It might be fun. To me, I told somebody yesterday, they said, how do you pick the colors on your building? I said, I'm colorblind, so I tell somebody else to pick the colors. And then I drive by and I go, yeah, that looks cool.
Are you really colorblind?
Yeah. Well, it's red, green colorblind. I can see color. But
do you believe me when I say it's magenta and not purple?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. The SMI signs?
Yeah.
I was told it's purple. When it comes out blue, my designers get really mad and they go, oh, it's blue or it's blurple. And I go, I don't know. It looks purple to me. It looks fine.
Mike says it's magenta.
With the ego and you going into that bad partnership, that partner had an ego. He wanted to make things look nice, wasn't worried about actual money and helping you guys out.
Okay,
whatever.
so
how did you did you know how to well, the answer is probably no, but you didn't know how to recognize an ego on someone else before that?
Yeah.
And that taught you how to?
This kind of goes back to me saying that everybody in life wants something different. They want something different out of life. They want something different out of real estate, different out of business. And so I think that some people want to be the smartest guy in the room. Some people want to be the richest guy in the room. I think that, or richest person in the room, gals. I mean, everybody sort of has something that they're going for, right? And if you're locked into this HGTV, Instagram world that we live in, it's amazing to me how many people just want to like doll something up and take a picture of it to put it on. Like once they took that picture and they stuck it on social media, that was the payoff for them. Mm-hmm. The fact that they lost $300,000 on the deal, they could care less because they weren't after money. They were after fame or something. And there's something that happens with real estate when you fix up a building and you stick it on the internet, people just applaud you. If you talk about how you did a deal and you bought this piece of crap and you raised the rents and you sold it and you made a bunch of money, like us real estate nerds will think that's cool, but the average person in our culture doesn't really get that. Yeah. You take a building and you go doll it up and you make it all cute and you make a sweet video out of it or whatever, and like there is a nonstop barrage. You have a fan base that tells you how cool and how awesome you are, and all you're doing is really just being a decorator. It doesn't come down to spreadsheets and budgets and timelines and all the boring stuff that they have to do to actually make money. It just comes down to like, we're going to buy this no matter what because I have the vision for what it can be. And I watch people, especially in the developer and construction world, GCs, they all talk about ego. They all believe they can do anything.
Dude, it's crazy.
You will never find a contractor that tells you I can't do it.
Oh, they all know how to design a building and everything. All aspects of it.
They can do anything.
They've never done it before or worked on a project that big, but they could do it.
There is no lack of confidence in that industry. And so you got to be super careful when you're hiring people or partnering with people to do this, because they all talk about the confidence that isn't backed up by any sort of skill. They all have that, at least the ones that I
every builder I've talked to has said they could develop like no problem, and then they've never done it before, so then you instantly know like, oh, you don't even know what development is.
They just think it's all
sign out easy. A piece of paper and you send it in, you're good to go.
Yeah, so when you're coming from that angle where you're thinking you can accomplish, it's like yeah, I've never done it before, but I can figure anything out. It's like we can do anything. And I watch these guys and they take on projects. There's a saying that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And sometimes you look at, we want to solve a problem and we want to build this crazy thing because it's like, I can be the one to pull that off. The reality is like making money in real estate is kind of boring. It's like you buy the ugly buildings and you clean them up a little bit and you bring them up to average and you raise the rents. Or if you're going to flip houses, sure. I don't think flipping houses is investing. I just think it's a day job. And if you need to be a good decorator to flip houses, then by all means, like you got to have a vision for what that can be. But like, I mean, what we were doing in flipping was not flipping. It was like redevelopment. It was like, let's cut off the roof and add a floor. Let's move the master bedroom upstairs and put a bathroom in there. And let's finish out a basement and add another 1,000 square feet to the, I mean, this was like full on, I don't know what it was. Well, it wasn't flipping.
Trevor asked a great question, which was, well, how do you recognize it? And I think you recognize it. Well, what is that person's why? And his why, you mentioned in that episode, he was working on an HDT.
Well, I found that out later.
Yeah. So it's hard not to see, but that's usually the why are they doing it? And then the best way to find out why are they doing it is listen to the words they use.
But those people tell you really good words. They're
very convincing.
Those people are the most convincing people.
But it's not the words they use, it's the way they use them. And so when you can distill your emotions out of it and then look at to the actual words they use, words indicate everything.
So I can recognize it now a little bit, but I went into partnerships and you told me not to do them because of the very reason you could see the ego. Like, how do you see it? Just because you experienced it, or there's like...
Oh, there's an individual that you've worked with that we all know that, it just resonates out of them and you feel it as one.
So you just have to learn from experience.
Yeah, it helps hone that gut. So
you should go partner with a high ego person early on because you have
that's not a bad idea.
I'll tell you, for me, maybe having a stronger ego to where I'm not trying to peacock or show off. Like in most of my
GTR, dude. I don't know, man.
Yeah, my cars I show off. But when we're having a conversation about a deal, and I say like, here's my opinion, and you tell me your opinion, most of the time I'll just back down from you and go like, oh yeah, you're probably right, and I'll let you tell me the way it is, right? One of the things I learned over time is that my opinion is more valuable than I thought it was, and I should stand more, because most of the time I look back that I shared my opinion, especially in my flipping story, 100% of the time where I brought up concerns, all of the fears I had going into that came true.
Yeah.
But I was told at each point when I said, well, what about this? No. Don't worry. That's not how that works. You do this and this and this, and it all works fine. And I just thought, okay, but if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And when people are telling you there is no downside risk, or they're telling you that they know 100% how to do something, I think that's a serious red flag. And you can tell, people who have ego. Don't go find your partners on Instagram. And don't try to get on HGTV.
Oh man, how many people gave money to LPs? How many LPs gave money because of influencers?
Oh, yeah, it's a big thing right now.
Huge thing.
Well, you're a lot wiser than most, also though, because
says who?
Well, I'll give you an example. So, Mike, listen to
your balance sheet.
Mike, check this out. So we were doing a deal. We're coming to the closing line. The deal was kind of getting a little messed up. And me and Mark are on the phone on this deal, and we don't like the deal that much now because we're running into some problems with it. So Mark's like, I think we should do it this way. So I'm a problem solver. So I'm like, great, let's blow this deal up. And then here's 4 other ways we can do it.
Yeah.
And we're coming into like 2 weeks to close on this thing.
That's when you should really redo it. It's 2 weeks to close. Yeah.
So I had a feeling, I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like I should call Gabe about this. And we were just going on our way, coming up with our next plan, and we're all on board. I called Gabe, and Gabe's kind of like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, no, do it this way. And we're like, that's why we partner with Gabe. Yeah. That is the best decision, actually.
Yeah.
But like, how do we, like, why were we thinking that? And then you're just like, what are you doing?
Well, so this is what we talk about, trying to make everybody on the team continue to move higher and higher level, and to see things from a different angle. And so I wasn't as close to it as you guys are. You guys were emotional about it. Somebody sort of like pulled the rug out from under us at the last minute, wanted to change some things around, and immediately you jumped into like, let's just get in a fight and let's just kill this part of the deal and go find another way to do it. And I think the takeaway on that conversation that we had is I said, we're in the business of building bridges, not burning them. And so we need to go out regardless of what the spreadsheet says. Like, these are partnerships that we want. These are lenders we want. We don't want to go shit the bed 2 weeks before
we could
closing.
Have made $1 million extra, but the viewpoint was your viewpoint is it's a bigger picture than that. Just that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's more to the equation than money.
1,000. Why do I keep saying 1,000%? Whoever dropped that in my brain, I don't like you.
10,000%.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, but it's true because one's an infinite game mindset and one's a finite game mindset. And if you're playing a finite game, you'll never be happy. Because that game ends. But if you're playing an infinite game, you can be happy.
And that's the whole part, too, about everybody can win.
Yep.
And so just for us to make an extra $1 million doesn't necessarily mean that's a better deal.
Right.
Like this comes down to like what happens in the future as you build this out is you have certain lenders and certain partners and certain people that you want to rinse and repeat. And when especially when you're young and you're getting started, the last thing you want to do is start pissing people off and building a reputation. You can't get a deal closed on time. You can't find the money. You can't, do whatever. I don't know. I mean, and maybe my decision isn't the right decision. It's just, again, it's one voice. It's one seat at the table. I just feel like, I feel like you need, again, I think you need to see the deal from every angle.
Yeah, I think, and that's a really good example that your ego grows, right? Because essentially your ego keeps from perspective. So Gabe had more time and experience, which gave him more perspective. One lesson I learned in 2014, I met Haris, and he's like, I'm at an age in life right now where I get to do business with who I want to do business with. And one of my favorite books out there is The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Malkovich, which talks about growing massive pumpkins. You just have to cut all the other pumpkins off the vine. So you get rid of all the people you don't want to do business with. And so I was coming into this understanding of this concept of how valuable it is to do business with people you want to do business with. And I'm sitting here with a white-haired, chiseled man that's lived this and telling me the stories, and he's like, I just refuse to do business with people I don't want. And now 10 years forward, it's like, yeah, that's where peace is. For me, that's what peace is.
I love that image. The pumpkin. I've never heard that before.
Such a good book, dude.
What's the book?
Pumpkin Plan.
Pumpkin.
So yeah, so Mike Malkovich, the other one, like toilet paper entrepreneur, he uses this analogy to then wrap around an entrepreneurial lesson around it. And so it's like, okay, so 80% of your clients bring in 20% of the revenue and they have 80% of the headaches, whereas 20% of your clients bring in 80% of the revenue and have 20% of the headaches. So
you're the 20%. You're saying the 80% bring in 80% of the revenue and 20%.
No, 20% of your clients bring in 80% of the revenue. Cause 20% of the pain.
Exactly.
So get rid of the 80% of the clients that bring in 20% of the revenue and 80% of the pain. Yeah. And then once you get rid of them, guess what? Now you can focus on those few clients you love, and then guess what? They get better service, and then guess what? They introduce you to people that are like them.
Well, and that's and my way of saying that is like the clients we're supposed to have, and the clients we're not supposed to have, we're not supposed to have. And it's just the magic happens. You have good relationships and you have other ones that don't work out, and that's okay.
And here's the ego. So the ego is afraid of cutting off those clients we're supposed to have.
Yes, because you got to make every penny. Yes. I got to make sure this is a win-lose mindset.
Yes.
This is scarcity.
Yes.
I've got to make that extra million. I've got to make it like I have to make sure that every penny comes my way, and it doesn't.
Because you're so tight and wind up around that you're not free and loose around what you need to be free and loose around.
Yeah, you're hanging on too tight. You're hanging on too tight.
All right, well, let's close out with talk about Dane's ego, because you said
anyone who can wear that mohawk thingy he's got.
That's a mullet.
It's mullet hawk thing.
Jaron Montgomery just got his mullet permed. We got to have Jaron on the podcast. Put him right in the chair with the camera looking at the back of his head, though. These mullets are coming back. I love it.
You should grow one.
I think I can grow hair in the back, just not on top.
It's funny.
What do they call it? A skullet or a bullet? Or there's some other name for it.
Do you know what went through my brain this morning? So I need a hairstylist referral in Salem. So more than anything, I'm like, gosh,
great clips.
I go to Gabe gives me so much good like referrals and stuff, and then I can't go to him for a haircut referral because he just doesn't have any.
Oh yeah, you can. I know everybody that
can you hook me up with the.
You want like a really fancy
dude? I'm 45 years. I have the best
new
head
Mike.
of hair.
This is new Mike. He's losing weight, getting tan, playing golf. You want like what kind of haircut you want? Like a pro golfer type haircut?
I want to look like Ryan Reynolds or Tom Brady.
Dude, they go to great clips and sports clips.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
You go to Clemente Porras down.
Clemente Porras.
Clemente's the guy.
Who do I? That's the name of the guy.
Yeah, he owns a salon downtown. Good dude. He might only do chicks' hair. I don't know, but I do.
I'm a chick when I need to be.
Yeah, he'll make you look good.
I can be chicky.
Yeah, we'll do a Mike makeover. Ooh. I can't wait till we start putting out videos and people can actually see us.
They're gonna be really disappointed.
Maybe we shouldn't put out videos.
I did some videos with Chris Mers like a month or two ago, and
I've been watching them those.
Dude, I look fat mofo.
You were, yeah.
Wow.
I was gonna say, yeah. When he said 13 pounds, I was like, nah, I think it's more than that.
Yeah,
more than 13. But.
Well, yeah, 13 since I made a commitment. There's another 8 on top of that.
All right.
Just don't eat for like 2 months.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mike's getting smaller. His ego's getting smaller, and his body is getting smaller.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, guys. Are we wrapping it up?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now that we've solved the problem, we don't have ego. We have strong ego now, not weak ego. Is that right? And we're going to do better real estate deals and make more money and do better good for the world because of it.
Our community's stronger because we're stronger.
Everybody's better because we're better.
Yeah.
Go check out some of our other episodes.
Share, like, trust.
Share them with some friends.
Please share it.
And then we'll keep doing this for you.
Yeah.
We'll keep doing it. Yeah.
Is that a threat?
And
as long as one person is listening, we'll keep doing it.
And if you go back and listen to the last 1 or 2 episodes, Mike threw out some free coaching.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you're going to do free coaching?
Oh,
Yeah, you got to go find that episode.
there's it hasn't been released yet.
Well, by the time, that will be
I'm
by the
so
time
glad.
By the time this airs.
Because I had someone reach out about coaching, and it means it's not free because that hasn't been.
not free yet.
So you're offering free coaching to the first person who...
It was one free coaching call for, I can't remember what
Somebody
I
has
said.
to share
it or
Like
something.
2 episodes
Yeah.
back. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
now you have to share 5 episodes and we'll get a free coaching call.
All right. Thanks for joining us on Deal Junkies. We'll see you next time.